දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, not interested. The Millennium Challenge Corporation announces the cancellation of its $480 million grant due to lack of government engagement. Don't mar the season. Archbishop of Colombo issues a clarion call to the Catholic community to help prevent a Christmas virus surge.
It is very important for us to celebrate Christmas humbly. Christmas should not become the moment in which Sri Lanka had an explosion of the pandemic.
Public carelessness. Health officials say mini clusters cropping up across the island from haphazard public movements.
There has been small clusters appearing. I urge the public to make sure that our movements need to be restricted only to essential purposes.
Covering his tracks, CID Forensics Chief reveals ex-SIS Director's deletion and tampering of information to the Easter Commission. All this and much more coming up on this Thursday, the 17th of December 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavathina Sakura Mal Suandin.
Try out our new product range. Celebrate and feel the difference with Bairaha.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shinada Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. The Board of Directors of the Millennium Challenge Corporation has ended the $480 million MCC grant to Sri Lanka over what they termed a lack of partner country engagement. The controversial agreement faced heavy backlash by various factions, citing threats to the country's sovereignty, raising more questions over the opacity of its contents. The committee appointed by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to review the agreement also discouraged its signing due to what it termed the unfair status of its other partner countries. The discontinuation of the project was confirmed by the US Embassy in Sri Lanka via a statement, adding that the sum approved for Sri Lanka will be made available to other eligible partner countries. In April 2019, the Board of Directors of the Millennium Challenge Corporation approved a 5-year compact worth $480 million aimed at reducing poverty in Sri Lanka through economic growth. The grant was approved following a proposal made by the government of Sri Lanka in 2017. The compact is composed of 2 projects, a transport project and a land project. Under the compact, $350 million was to be granted for the transport project and $67.3 million for the land project. The remaining $62.7 million was earmarked for support, technical assistance, feasibility and design studies, project administration, monitoring and project evaluation. The MCC Board of Directors only selects countries as eligible for MCC assistance that demonstrate a commitment to just and democratic governance, investing in people and economic freedom. Accordingly, the Government of Good Governance took steps to obtain the MCC grant, and on the 27th of April 2019, the then Minister of Finance Mangala Samaravira announced that Sri Lanka had been made eligible for the grant. Thereafter, on October 30th last year, former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe announced the signing of the Millennium Challenge Corporation agreement after cabinet approval was granted. However, the agreement faced intense scrutiny by various factions, including a fast unto death staged by Venerable Ududumbara Karshipathera. After his election last year, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed a 4-member committee on January 1st to review the MCC compact and submit a report. The committee was chaired by Professor Lalitha Sirigunaruwan and consisted of former Secretary to the Ministry of Transport Dr. D.S. Jayavira, President's Counsel Nihal Jayawardena and Chartered Architect Nalaka Jayavira. Accordingly, the committee report was handed over to the President on the 25th of June. The report showed that the previous government had signed the MCC agreement in two phases in 2017 and 2018, and that despite sums of $7.4 million and $2.6 million having been disbursed for the project, no paperwork regarding these sums existed. The report further stated that no multi-sectoral analysis had been conducted by experts in the government at the time, entrusted with the task of reviewing the contract before its signing. The report also revealed that the powers granted to MCC representatives to make arbitrary amendments to the agreement's conditions with the government given notice by letter was in violation of the sovereignty of Parliament. It also added that such terms would render the Attorney General powerless to represent the government or take up the issue before Sri Lankan courts. The committee also noted that the status of the countries that accepted the grant were tragic. In an exclusive discussion with Indivarya Muvatta at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24 during his visit to Sri Lanka, United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, however, stated that Sri Lanka can choose not to accept the agreement if it doesn't make sense to the people.
What will happen if it is politically challenging for the Sri Lankan government to enter into the MCC agreement?
Yeah, I think it's one of many things that's been proffered. If it doesn't make sense for Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankans will choose not to accept that. The relationships, the strands, the depth and complexity of our relationship far exceeds any one transaction or any one opportunity. There'll be plenty. We'll work closely on them alongside the Sri Lankan government.
Meanwhile, during a recent interview with the Sunday morning newspaper, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa confirmed that the agreement will not be signed by his government. Releasing a statement following this, the US Embassy in Sri Lanka announced that the Millennium Challenge Corporation Board has decided to discontinue the proposed MCC Development Assistance Grant to Sri Lanka due to a lack of partner country engagement. The statement added that the sum approved for Sri Lanka will be made available to other eligible partner countries in need of grant funding to pursue their economic development priorities, reduce poverty and grow their economies. In conclusion, the statement says that the United States remains a friend and partner to Sri Lanka and will continue to assist Sri Lanka in responding to COVID-19 and build its economy.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නීරෝගිමත් දිවයකට ලංකාවේ පළමු වරට හඳුන්වා දෙන Melbourne Veggie Cracker
Crunchy veggie.
The Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks was told by the CID's forensic laboratory yesterday that former SIS chief Nilantha Jayawardena had deleted data from his mobile phone and tampered with documents contained in his laptop. The commission was also told that the information contained on the two devices were irretrievable due to the lack of high-tech software by the CID team.
Chief Inspector Sampath Kumara of the Criminal Investigation Department's Digital Forensic Laboratory testified before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry yesterday. Chief Inspector Kumara's testimony centered on the forensic investigations carried out by the CID on the mobile phone and laptop computer used by former Director of State Intelligence Service, DIG Nilantha Jayawardena. At the outset, the Chief Inspector told the Commission that at the time the mobile phone was received by the CID, all data on it had already been destroyed in such a way that the information could not be retrieved even through a forensic analysis. Further, with regards to the former Intel chief's laptop, the Chief Inspector revealed that there were 2.6 million files contained in its hard drive, out of which 210 files relating to these attack investigations were handed over to the investigation unit of the Commission. The witness also revealed that investigators had noticed that much of the facts contained in these documents had been tampered with at a later date. Following this, the appeals court judge at the commission asked the witness, "Did you question Nilantha Jayawardena regarding the factory reset of his mobile phone?" In response, the Chief Inspector stated, "I did question him about this. However, what he told me was that his mobile phone had been subjected to a factory reset to delete sensitive SIS information before he gave it to his wife for her personal use." The Commission then asked the witness whether any such deletion of information had been carried out on the former SIS chief's laptop. The witness replied, "Yes. When we performed the data recovery on the laptop, we found that a lot of data had been deleted." To this, the appeals court judge at the Commission asked the witness, "Is your final conclusion that there was an attempt to delete the original data on both these devices?" In reply, the witness stated, "In the case of the mobile phone, I would say yes. All data had been deleted. However, with regards to the laptop, that cannot be said. In this case, some data had been reproduced." Following this, the attorney representing the Archbishop of Colombo, President's Counsel Shamil Perera, asked the witness, "Is it in any way possible to retrieve the data contained in the relevant mobile phone?" The Chief Inspector replied, With the software that we use in Sri Lanka, it cannot be done. However, if we had access to more advanced software, we can definitely recover the data.
With Christmas just a week away, Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, called the Christian community to celebrate the season with humility but helping the less fortunate who bear the brunt of the economic downturn. The Cardinal also urged the Catholic community to heed health and safety regulations and make this Christmas a family celebration at home and not mar the season with a surge in COVID-19 infections.
Christmas is essentially a spiritual festival, and unfortunately over the years it has become a festival of joy and celebration in an external sense. What is important for us to understand is that without Jesus Christ there is no Christmas, and it is very important for us to realize that and to celebrate Christmas humbly. Very especially since Jesus was born in a manger in very poor circumstances, it is important for us to celebrate Christmas remembering our poor. This year in Sri Lanka we have a situation that is very tragic due to this COVID-19 pandemic. Very clearly we would like our public to concentrate on a spiritual celebration of the Christmas. We have advised our priests to celebrate Christmas only in the non-lockdown areas, to limit the Christmas festival and its ceremonies to the number of persons that has been indicated by the health officials. And at the moment the number of persons indicated is 50 per celebration. In order to cater to the large crowds that we have, it is necessary to multiply the ceremonies in such a way that the people can come but all the same not crowd the church. All the instructions of the health authorities should be followed in this case, like washing of hands, looking at the temperature, then keeping the 1 meter distance, then wearing a face mask, and then participating in the ceremonies without any chance of exposing ourselves to contract the pandemic. And if you have a possibility, please help another family or two in your area by providing something for them to have, considering the situation of the poverty that has come upon our people due to this COVID-19. This time Sri Lanka is suffering economically also. Therefore, we would call upon the government not to waste money on unnecessary decorations, Christmas festival ceremonies. Christmas should not become the moment in which Sri Lanka had an explosion of the pandemic.
Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Hemante Herat says that it's essential for the public to restrict movements to essential purposes only in order to avoid the creation of more mini clusters around the island. In the meantime, areas coming under the jurisdiction of the Akkarepattu police area were isolated following increased COVID-19 infections being reported.
The total number of deaths related to COVID-19 in Sri Lanka increased to 160, with 3 more deaths reported yesterday. The deceased include 2 residents from the Colombo district and a resident of the Kalutara district. Meanwhile, the Colombo district reported the highest number of COVID-19 fatalities of 117, with a total of 15 deaths having been reported so far from the Gampar district. During the course of yesterday, 616 infections were confirmed throughout the island, with Colombo again recording the highest number of 266. Apart from Colombo, 99 infections were reported yesterday from Kandy, 94 from Gampar, 48 from Kalutara, 31 from Ratnapura, 27 from Ampara and 11 from Jaffna. Further 8 infections each were reported from Kegol and Mathura, 4 infections each from Kurunagal and Puttalam, 2 infections each from Nuwareliya and Anuradhapura, 3 infections from Gaul and a single infection from Badiklo and Trincomalee were also detected. What's more, 5 more foreign repatriates were also included among the infections detected yesterday. Meanwhile, the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 has isolated several areas in the country with immediate effect today. Accordingly, the areas of Akkarepattu 5, Akkarepattu 14, Municipal Division 3, Palamunai 1, Oluvil 2, Adalachennai 8, all coming under the Akkarepattu police area were isolated with immediate effect. Furthermore, the areas of Adayalivembu 8/1, Adayalivembu 8/3 and Adayalivembu 9 within the same police area were also isolated. In the meantime, the Nazir Vatta area, which comes under the Vattala police area, was also isolated this afternoon. In another development, the Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemantha Herath, says that haphazard public movements have led to the creation of smaller clusters throughout the island.
There has been small clusters appearing in different parts of the country, and that is mainly due to the travelling of persons which was not fully restricted due to many reasons, including the need to ensure that social and economic activities need to be restricted only to the minimum level. And as a result, a large number of clusters or small areas where small numbers reported have been observed. This is something that we need to take into very serious consideration. Why our movements are the main factor that gives rise to this kind of situations where small clusters are appearing in different parts of the country, and therefore I urge the public and all other people in the country to make sure that our movements need to be restricted only to essential purposes.
Meanwhile, 701 COVID-19 patients recovered today and were discharged from hospitals, bringing the total number of recoveries to 26,353. With that, the total number of active cases currently stand at 8,536.
The European Union and the World Health Organization have granted the Sri Lankan government €2 million to ramp up measures to eradicate COVID-19 from the country. The grant was handed over to Minister of Health Pavitra Vaniarachi by Ambassador of the European Union to Sri Lanka and Maldives, Dennis Scheibe, at the Ministry of Health today.
The World Health Organization country office in Sri Lanka, along with the European Union, has granted financial support worth €2 million today to improve emergency response capacities in Sri Lanka to mitigate the impact of COVID-19. The support pledged by the EU will focus on several key areas, including enhancing the effectiveness of COVID-19 case management as well as preventing infection. It will also improve existing communication and community engagement efforts while supporting the mobilization of vulnerable individuals, young people and community-based organizations to lead community-level prevention and control measures. Further, the EU support will empower communities to access mental health and psychological services, addressing inequities exacerbated by the pandemic. Ambassador to the European Union of Sri Lanka and Maldives, Dennis Scheibe, said that funding for Sri Lanka is part of the EU's global response to the coronavirus pandemic. Will also pay special attention to vulnerable populations, working hand in hand with local communities. WHO representative to Sri Lanka, Dr. Razia Penze, said that the EU's timely and strategic support will boost implementation of the Sri Lanka preparedness and response plan to COVID-19, focusing on the pillars of case management, risk communication, and community engagement, infection prevention and control, and maintaining essential services.
More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back in more news. Private and public sector employees have been given an early Christmas gift by the government in the form of special low-interest loans to be disbursed through state banks. With a maximum of 50,000 rupees, the loan amount will depend on employees' monthly salaries and will be charged a mere 0.625% interest and repayable in 10 months.
The government has decided to provide low-interest loans for every family in view of the upcoming festive season. The President's Media Division announced today that the loans are expected to be provided with an interest rate of 0.625% under 3 categories. With this, members of the public earning a monthly income of 50,000 rupees or higher will be able to obtain a 50,000 rupee loan. Those earning a monthly income between 25,000 and 50,000 rupees will be granted a loan of 25,000 rupees. Meanwhile, those earning a monthly income below 25,000 rupees will accordingly be entitled to a loan of 10,000 rupees. The loans are to be disbursed by state banks, namely the Bank of Ceylon, the People's Bank, the National Savings Bank, the Regional Development Bank, and Samurdhi banks. Employees of private and public sector institutions who wish to receive supplementary financial assistance are requested to inform their respective superiors. With that, once the head of the institution submits the certified list of employees to the state banks closest to the workplace, the relevant branch will credit the amount to the employees' accounts without delay. That PMD says the loan is to be repaid within 10 months, with the amount deductible from the employee's salary between the months of January and October next year.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has appointed TMJYP Fernando and WGRD Nanayakkara to the positions of the Deputy Governors with effect from the 14th of this month. Prior to the appointment, the duo served the Central Bank as Assistant Governors.
The Monetary Board, with the concurrence of the Minister of Finance, has approved TMJYP Fernando and NWGRD Nanayakkara to the posts of Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka with effect from the 14th of December. TMJYP Fernando has a service experience of over 30 years in the Central Bank, particularly in the areas of supervision and regulation of banks, foreign exchange management and currency management. Fernando has played a vital role in contributing to the financial system stability by providing leadership to implement a strong regulatory framework for banks in line with international standards and best practices. NWGRD Nanayakkara has over 27 years of experience in the central bank, mainly in the areas of supervision and regulation of banks, foreign reserve management and international operations, domestic operations, macroprudential surveillance and public debt management.
The Sri Lanka Air Force carried out a third wave of the seed bombing yesterday, covering 25 acres of deforested areas within the Lahugala-Kitulana National Park. The project is being implemented with the objective of achieving Sri Lanka's sustainable development goal, rather of raising Sri Lanka's forest density to 32% by 2030. Approximately 30,000 seed bombs comprising 6 types of native trees were dropped by an Air Force M117 helicopter.
The Sri Lanka Air Force, under the guidance of Air Force Commander Air Marshal Sudarshana Pathirana, together with the Forest Conservation Department and the University of Peradeniya, carried out the third wave of seed bombing at the Lahugala-Kitulana National Park yesterday. The Command Agro Unit at the SLF base in Katunayaka, under the leadership of Air Commodore Suharshi Fernando, and the Forest Conservation Department organized this mission to achieve the aim of improving the forest cover from 27% to 32% by 2030. The first wave of the mission was executed at the Ranurava Government Forest on a 5-acre land area with approximately 5,000 seed bombs being released. During the second wave, 67,000 seed bombs were dropped over a 60-acre area inside the Lahugala forest in Ampara. Embarking on the third wave of the mission, which was accomplished last morning, approximately 30,000 seed bombs were dropped over a 25-acre area within the Lahugala-Kitulana National Park. The operations were carried out using an Air Force Mi-17 helicopter. The seed bombs comprised of 6 types of native trees, namely Ahala, Mi, Kumuk, Mara, Bulu and Tamarind, to match the dry zone environment.
The new advanced offshore patrol vessel stores and workshop complex was opened recently at the Naval Dockyard in Trincomalee. The facility is expected to fulfill the maintenance and repair needs of the Navy's advanced offshore patrol and offshore patrol fleets and improve the efficiency and effectiveness of its maritime operations.
Commander of the Navy Vice Admiral Nishant Ulugethanna declared open a new advanced offshore patrol vessel, stores and workshop complex at the Naval Dockyard in Trincomalee recently. The construction work of the complex was completed in a short span of time following the directives of the Commander of the Navy. The brand new facility includes storage for ship spares, equipment as well as engineering and electrical auxiliary workshops. The facility will also cater to the maintenance and repair needs of advanced offshore patrol vessels, while also providing quick solutions for running repairs and routine maintenance. The move is expected to boost the efficiency of maritime operations. The opening ceremony was also attended by Commander of the Eastern Naval Area Rear Admiral Ruan Pereira and Director General Engineering Rear Admiral Ravi Ranasinghe.
Sri Lanka's new ambassador to China, Dr. Palitha Kohuna, officially assumed duties in Beijing last evening. However, this time due to COVID-19 health and safety regulations in a virtual manner. The Embassy of Sri Lanka in Beijing said the new ambassador was accorded a warm virtual welcome by its staff. Dr. Kohuna arrived in China 2 days ago to take office in his new position. Dr. Kohuna was previously the permanent representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations from 2009 to 2015. Prior to that, he served as the permanent secretary to the Foreign Affairs Ministry and as the Secretary General of the Secretariat for coordinating the peace process. Dr. Kohuna is also the former head of the UN Treaty Section in New York until 2006. We'll return after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In more news, Texas and 9 other states sued Google yesterday, accusing it of working with Facebook in violation of antitrust laws to boost its already dominant online advertising business. The states asked that the Alphabet Inc.-owned company, which controls a third of the global online advertising industry, compensate them for damages and sought a structural relief, which is usually interpreted as forcing a company to divest some of its assets. Google called the Texas lawsuit meritless, while Facebook did not comment. The lawsuit says that, as internal Google documents reveal, Google sought to kill competition and has done so through an array of exclusionary tactics, including the unlawful agreement with Facebook, its largest potential competitive threat. Google ad sales account for over 80% of Alphabet's revenue. The all-share price index ended lower by 0.47% or 31.52 points to close at 6,624.15 during today's trading, while S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks declined by 0.76% or 19.68 points to end at 2,583.10. Meanwhile, the rupee was quoted weaker at 188 and 62.85 to the US dollar today, after closing at 188.40 cents to 188.80 cents to the US dollar yesterday. Here's a look at how the Sri Lankan currency traded against other major international currencies during the day. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a good night.